Hi, we're the Crimson Project. The issue we chose to focus on is the stigma surrounding menstruation. Our aim was to fight the stigma by raising awareness about the discrimination against menstruators and how cultural beliefs further exacerbate the issues.
Our first step into researching the issue was a survey to gauge the current level of awareness among the general public and to also find out the issues that women face. This also helped us define a clear aim.
Our most striking insight was that only 25% of our respondents were men. From this, we can infer that men were hesitant to answer questions about menstruation and chose not to respond. Moreover, women's eagerness to respond to the survey also shows how they face these issues on a daily basis.
More than half the men had never bought period products, and many of them admitted to verbally shaming women on their periods. While most women said they would want help if they had a period stain, many of the male respondents said they would rather say nothing and do nothing if they saw a period stain.
One of the respondents, when describing their conversation with a female about menstruation, said she felt embarrassed, offended, and upset with me and humiliated. This goes to show the extent of stigma in society and how some women also do not want to talk about their periods.
The biggest issue menstruators face is discrimination. 105 out of 110 female respondents said that while on their period, they were not allowed to visit the temple. One person said, temples have prominent signs asking women on periods not to enter.
One teenage female said, "Most of my extended family isn't as open-minded, and I've been shushed countless times by older aunties for openly asking for pads during family trips." Another one said that if they saw a period stain, they would look down upon her. She should have planned better. Why make a mess and not expect a reaction?
Moreover, not only from our survey but from interviews with social workers, doctors, and students, we learned that the primary causes of the menstrual stigma are deep-rooted cultural ideas like patriarchy as well as misogyny, along with the lack of education.
In our research, I found out, and even what I can tell is, I think it stems from patriarchy, misogyny, and any communities which are more patriarchal would have this even more.
Most of it is really about a lack of education and a reliance more on custom, tradition.
Mrs. Agarwal also added a very interesting insight.
It was really to empower women, and later how it became more of a patriarchal mesh or web, and it changed the whole dynamic. But I think the roots have to go back to while the benefits of some of the myths or rituals or traditions followed for menstruation is to give the women rest back those days. But I think most of them are baseless.
Dr. Bhatt agreed.
Most of it is really about a lack of education and a reliance more on custom, tradition. The way that much older times, there used to be large joint families. A woman's work in the kitchen was very, very heavy work. It was meant to give you rest, that you don't cook on those days. And somehow it got twisted into this impurity story.
There is this whole shame and embarrassment which affects the mental health. 1 of 5 menstruators drop out of school once they hit puberty. You're not allowed to go to the kitchen. You're not allowed to touch anybody in the house. It was actually untouchability that bad. You have to wash your own utensils, keep it separate. You have to be in a room. If like my mother is serving me food, the plate should not touch as well. It was that extreme.
We translated our surveys into regional languages for greater accessibility. From surveys in the local language Marathi, we learned that there was little or incorrect awareness about menstrual stigma in lower economic classes. And most women felt very awkward while buying period products.
Moreover, if someone saw them carrying menstrual products in public, they said that they would feel very embarrassed or try to hide it. And if somebody asked them about a period stain, they would also feel very ashamed of it. Furthermore, especially in the lower socio-economic class, the practice of burning or burying soiled clothes was very common, unlike the higher socio-economic class.
Dr. Rajni Bhatt helped us understand the extent of the problems that women in the lower socio-economic class face.
Put mango in for pickles and in summer, and if a menstruating woman touches it, then the achar will go bad. These things that we say about women not being allowed into the kitchen and things like that, that works for the higher castes. What happens to women who are from very poor homes, lower caste homes? They still got to work in the kitchen, they still got to work in the fields. But the only way you're going to be made to feel further impure is that you're not going to sleep in the house, you're going to sleep in the shed. Then it also leads to unsafe, unhealthy practices. So the whole idea of bad blood, all of that, And having to hide this meant that they wouldn't speak about it and seek medical advice. So people would use really terrible things as pads, whether it's straw or mud or really terrible rags and things like that. So what that has actually led to is it's a huge rise in the incidence of pelvic inflammatory disease and cervical cancer.
Furthermore, Dr. Prajakta Mehendale, a gynecologist who has worked in both rural and urban areas, said,
So the thing is that in an urban population, I don't think patients are very uncomfortable with male gynecologists. They're pretty open about it. I think they're all very educated and they are all from, they're all very well informed also, many of them. But I would say in a rural population, yes, definitely there is a bit of a hesitation when it comes to consulting a male gynecologist.
The stark contrast between the higher and lower socioeconomic class was further brought out by Dr. Bhatt.
The lower socioeconomic groups, the women don't really have the privilege to be able to even share their troubles with menstruation or anything related to a menstrual disorder, right? If you have painful periods, if you have any kind of menstrual dysfunction, you still have to go out and work. You don't get a menstrual day off. Like the kind of awareness that you're starting to see, I like that companies are starting to do that, where they say that you have a period day where you can choose to work from home, or you could take a day off if you have difficulty with menstruation. That luxury, that privilege does not exist for people from a lower socioeconomic.
This goes on to show that menstruation is not spoken about openly. It is vital to debunk the stigma by encouraging conversation about periods.
From research, it was clear that boys had far less awareness about menstruation than girls. Moreover, girls were embarrassed and uncomfortable talking about periods with other non-menstruators.
In the beginning, when I first got my periods, I was really embarrassed to tell my dad and my uncle and everyone in my house.
And have you ever hidden period products out of shame?
In school, when I have to go to the washroom, yeah, I have.
Have you ever noticed women hiding their period products from you?
It has happened once where it was basically during class, and I think she was searching for some book inside her bag, and like a pouch or something fell down, and she like scurried and then put it back in her bag. But it wasn't much of like someone noticed, but I was just like, I realized, then I just didn't talk about it because I realized she must not be comfortable with it.
Do you think your father and brother are aware of what menstruation is?
Yeah, they're just uncomfortable about the subject.
One of our interviewees also commented about why people think women are irritable and how the stereotype is originated.
So why do you think people use euphemisms like that time of the month or code red to avoid uncomfortable or awkward conversations about menstruation?
So like if someone's personal experience with someone who's menstruating is like that, it'll come to it. So for example, they're having a conversation with someone who's menstruating. If they act irritable in a way, then they will just pick it up in the sense that, oh, women when they're on their period are irritable. Hence, I will assume they're generally irritable.
Furthermore, a consistent observation was that boys did not have conversations about periods. This is also due to the stigma.
And do you have open conversation with them about periods?
Not particularly.
Do you frequently have like open discussions with any menstruator in your family about periods?
So I don't have frequent conversations about them, like maybe once in a while.
Do you frequently have discussions with any menstruators in your family or friends like about periods?
It is not openly discussed, however, it has been understood.
Having understood the extent of the stigma, we decided to take the initiative to combat this issue.
We realized that the knowledge gap about menstruation between the higher and the lower socioeconomic class was significant. The lower socioeconomic class also had the most misconceptions about menstruation, leading to a negative attitude towards it. Moreover, despite better literacy in the higher socioeconomic class, there was still very little conversation about the topic, and males had varying levels of awareness.
Thus, we identified two major target groups. One, the lower socioeconomic class, and two, males in the higher socioeconomic class.
Additionally, we created a website that provides insights about our project, links to our social media, and additional insightful graphics.
Social media allowed us to reach out to a larger audience quickly. We regularly posted about the issue in an effort to create awareness. Our posts included debunking the myths about menstrual stigma and encouraging conversation about menstruation.
Overall, the project has been an insightful and enriching experience for all of us. Before the project, we didn't realize the extent of the stigma. Not only did we learn more about the issues menstruators face as we explored the cultural perspectives, but we also created an impact on society.